can save a whole hell of a lot of energy and energy consumption and impact on greenhouse gases just by a number of incremental changes that are the things that can tip. That's not the policy.
Just before I came in here, I got an email from Sam Tenenbaum, so I've got to ask the question while we're there. He's pushing the idea of a 55 mile per hour speed limit. Go back to what we had in the 70s. Can that, or anything like that, well, first of all, should it, but can that be sold, something that requires sacrifice like that to the American people?
It can be sold if you convince the American people what the actual savings were. Mm-hmm. Not being a wise guy now. I mean it sincerely. You can convince them if they pull up to a gas pump and they can pump into their vehicle E85 ethanol. Mm-hmm. You can convince them if, in fact, their energy bills go down because they're using different kinds of light bulbs and different kinds of refrigeration. It's hard to convince them that there is the net savings that would accrue with a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. And as a practical matter, it is a gigantic enforcement issue as well. So it's not like there's a direct it's one of those things and Sam's been talking to me a lot about it as well, God love him. If you if you think about it, I can set up an econometric model for you where if no automobile in America went over 55 miles a gallon, how much I could save for you. I could save more if I just timed the streetlights in America. Mm-hmm. But guess what? You can cite both of those things, and they kind of fall in the category when you ask someone how they're going to balance the budgets, they say waste, fraud, and abuse. Because the ability to measure the practical prospect that, in fact, people are going 55 miles an hour. Now, Sam would argue that if 55 miles is the limit, then you're not having people going 85, you're having people going 70. Right. Okay? But again, it's an incremental impact. I think that's not where I would make the fight. Mm-hmm. The places I'd make the fight are in some of the things I mentioned to you. For example, as President of the United States, literally, not a joke, I would issue an executive order. When I first said this, all the rest of the candidates went, now they're all saying the same thing. And it's this. If as President of the United States I issued an executive order immediately after being elected that there would not be a single fleet vehicle purchased in the federal system that didn't get 40 miles a gallon. And if I said, even though hardly any cars do, if I said that not a single federal dollar would go into building a building that's not green, they'd say, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Well, guess what? The day after I did that, within 3 weeks, you'd have 30 states passing the same thing, governors. You'd create a pot of $500 billion out there. And guess what? Free enterprise respond to it. If you ain't going to, they'll be out there figuring out how the hell I sell, how the hell I build, how the hell I get in the deal for contracts. And so I know these are things that I look back on in history, and every great leader who has been able to change sort of the attitude of a country. The attitude has been changed as much by non-legislative action as it's been legislative action. It becomes an accepted norm. Mm-hmm. And so I would focus on things different than fighting the fight, which becomes an ideological fight, ironically. You got North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho. I mean, it becomes a way of life thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just think it's a lot of energy, no pun intended, that I'd rather expend as president on other fights. But do I support the notion? Yeah, I support the idea. Would I go out there as president and make that the lead horse in my attitudinal change? No.